Hello, seasoners. Welcome back to another episode of My First Season. I hope you've been enjoying my solo standalone episodes, but we have an actual guest for you today, and I'm very thrilled to introduce a true Club Med legend who joined the GEO team in 1986. Kicking off his journey at Club Med Martinique as a scuba GEO. His passion and leadership shone through as he later rose to Chief of Sports, and in 1992, he found love at Club Med Sandpiper, meeting his future wife. Beyond Club Med, he is also an endurance athlete extraordinaire, conquering 10 Ironman races, over 50 marathons and ultramarathons, and tackling the grueling rim to rim to rim Grand Canyon race in an astonishing 18 hours. Whew, I get tired just saying that. From his roots in Lyon, France, to his current home in Lansing, Michigan, we're diving into his incredible stories and so much more. So join me in welcoming Mr. Benoit Collard. Hey, Benoit, how are you, sir?
I am doing very well. Hello, Craig. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here and reaching out to me. And I'm happy we're finally able to do this interview. So thanks so much for taking time today.
My pleasure. I'm really glad to be here today. So this is awesome.
We have a lot to cover, my friend. So, seasoners, if we only get through half of this, don't worry. Benoit will be back because once you start to hear his stories and his incredible journey, you'll understand why. We're going to start as quickly as we can. So, even though you live in the States, you were born in France, correct?
That's correct. Yes. So I was not born in Lyon, but that's where I lived when I joined Club Med. I was born in Geneva, Switzerland. So next to it on the French side.
Well, how many languages do you speak?
Well, French, English, and that will be it. And
okay.
As I'm getting older, it seems like I'm losing both.
Okay, so I guess you were not born on the Swiss-German side, if I'm getting that right.
That's correct. Yeah. On the French side, but in France, but maybe 15 minutes away from Geneva. So.
Okay, did you go to school in France or Switzerland?
In France.
Okay, all right. Now, obviously, you knew that Club Med was a French product. Did you start going to Club Med as a GM?
I didn't. So, when I was young, our vacation was we were driving and we were camping. So no Club Med for us.
Club Med's kind of started out as camping. So in reality, you were actually doing the earlier 1952 Club Med.
That's true. Of course, when you live in France, you've heard of Club Med. I mean, everybody knows Club Med, but I was not a GM. So started as a GO, basically.
Take me back a bit. Then did you become a scuba instructor before Club Med?
That's correct. So my passion was really scuba diving. At the time, you had to be 16 to start scuba diving. So I waited patiently to turn 16 and I started to scuba dive then. Did all my degrees, certificates, and so on. And over time, I became a scuba diving instructor.
All right. So now you're getting older. You're an instructor. How did you decide to apply, or does someone suggest you apply to Club Med?
Nobody suggested it. So I didn't know even anyone that worked for Club Med at all. So I was working and for a friend, and one afternoon I thought this is a kind of a strange story, and you have to remember this is the 80s, right? So there is not really computers. I mean, we have computers, but nobody was using computers or cellular phone or anything like this. So it's the 80s and I'm working and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I really want to be a scuba diving instructor somewhere. And I knew of Club Med. So I decided to take the train. So I was in Lyon then and went to Paris, took the subway and went to La Bourse, which was kind of like the headquarters of Club Med. I did not call in advance. I just show up at the reception downstairs. And I introduced myself. I said, my name is Benoit Collard. I'm a scuba diving instructor. And I'm wondering if you guys need scuba diving instructors. And I remember very well, the lady downstairs tells me, you are late. The interviews are happening just now. Just go second floor. Just like that.
Wow. Okay. That's very fortuitous. Okay.
I know. This is insane. I don't even have a resume or anything like this, Greg. I brought my degree with me, but that was it. So I go upstairs, I introduce myself again. They put me in a room with someone very quickly. And they said, listen, we do have a position for you, but we would like you to do a 2-week class in English. And you come back in 2 weeks to get tested. And after that, we send you somewhere.
Now, Benoit, do you mean they wanted to see if you could teach a scuba course in English, or was it an actual English course?
No, it was more an English course. They just wanted to give me the basics, basically. I could speak some, but it was not great. Obviously, over time, I've learned. So go back to Lyon, do a boot camp, English boot camp for 2 weeks. I'm ready to go back to Paris. Then I call them and they tell me, well, you don't really need to come back. We're going to send you somewhere. And remember, mostly no interview. They sent me my travel arrangements. And 2 weeks later, I was in Martinique, never flown before. That was the first time in an airplane. So I took the train to Paris. And from Paris, flew into Martinique. And that was the beginning of the journey.
I'm starting to think this English course might have been a waste of time because they're sending you to a French island. I think they should have sent you on a Quebecois course because I'm pretty sure you encountered people from Montreal for the first time in '86 in Martinique, right?
That's correct. Yeah, a lot of Canadians, a lot of people from New York. So it was a single village back then. I think it may not be anymore. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people from New York, from Canada, some from France as well. So it was a very interesting first village to start. So it was really awesome.
Now, up until this point, you thought you spoke French. So now you're hearing le joual, hearing
Yes.
Quebecois for the first time. So were you like, what is going on? Did you understand everything?
Yeah, I understood everything. It's just, I think Canadians have a better French language than French people, more proper. They use, so yeah, it was not an issue at all. A very seasoned scuba diving team then. Really, I went there not as a geo. I didn't even know what a geo was. I really went there as a scuba diving instructor. That's what I was going for basically when I went there. So.
Okay, so you weren't aware of maybe the dancing in the shows you would have to do at night, right?
No, I didn't know anything.
Okay.
And to be fair, at the time, at least in the 80s, the scuba diving team was they were still geos, but they were kind of aside. So they were not pushing too hard on the scuba diving instructors. But yeah, correct, Greg.
All right, so let's tell everyone about your chief of village, La Guitoune, very famous chief of village, right?
That's right. I cannot even remember who the chief of sport was, but very famous. I remember that what really was a surprise for me, he was married with a wonderful woman from Tahiti, and he had a young son from Tahiti, and everybody was wearing parios. I've never seen that before. So it was my eyes were wide open to all of this, which was very incredible. Because I was joining on the middle of the season, so I forgot to mention that was kind of like maybe three months in the season. So I didn't have to be in shows or anything like this. Basically, I was scuba diving, which was awesome.
Did you make any like classic first season geo mistakes, or were you just this is pretty easy, this job?
No, it was pretty easy. In general, and and it's interesting because and when we talk about the second season, again, I was clearly thinking that I was a scuba diving instructor before I was a geo, so I didn't look too much into the geo work too much at the time, and it was pretty difficult for Club Med to find scuba diving instructors, so they were not too demanding at the time. With the scuba diving instructor. So I don't remember too much. Of course, first crazy signs are kind of weird, but in general, I was going as a scuba diving instructor. I think my third season, that's when I became a true geo, basically.
Now, when you were becoming an instructor in France, where were you diving, in lakes?
No, so in the sea, in the Mediterranean Sea. So that's where I did most of my scuba dive.
Oh, really? Where about?
Yeah. The place we used to go a lot called La Ciotat. So it's next between Marseille and Toulon. It's a small town, which was really, really good, but all over there. So, but most of the training was happening in swimming pools, obviously.
Okay. Was the visibility better in Martinique or where you began your instructors?
So no, it was a lot better in Martinique.
Okay.
And I remember still today, my first jump in the water, it's kind of, you open your eyes and you see the coral and you see the fish. It was just all beautiful. So yes, a lot better in Martinique for sure.
So since you came in like during, I guess half the season was over, did you only stay like 3 months of that 6-month season?
My recollection, I would say maybe 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
The team was getting ready to go somewhere else, and I don't remember where it was. I do remember the chief of village, like Leighton, was pretty laid back. I don't remember talking to him. He probably introduced himself, but that was about it. So at that point, I was just enjoying my dives. We used to dive 6 days a week. There was an arrival and departure day, which I don't remember if it was Saturday or Sundays, and that was the day we could go scuba dive with the other instructors. So the Diamond Rocks, I don't know if you have ever heard of it, which
Yep.
is incredible. So that's where we used to go. So it was really good. Very seasoned scuba diving team. I remember there was a guy from Marseille, France. There was a guy from Israel. There was a guy from New York. Very strongly opinionated team, but very fun. So we had a good time.
Do you have any other first season stories that you would like to share before we move on?
Not so much, probably more in the second season than the first season. It's almost a blur, like I had my eyes wide open with everything, but yeah, that's probably second season, and third season obviously becomes like I'm becoming a Geo. So
I interviewed Mr. Coltman. Now, when I did Martinique as well, but when you were there, those cannons must have been out around the Tour de Force. But when we had his interview, I realized that he was one of the Geos that basically brought those cannons to the surface. Were you aware of that at the time?
I was aware of it. I mean, a little bit later in the story, I actually worked with Banan. I don't know if you remember. He mentioned the word. I'm going to call it the godfather of scuba diving in Club Med. So I have listened to his podcast, and that was fascinating, obviously. And I knew the story. Everybody was talking about it. So yes.
Okay. Now, do they approach you with a dream sheet? Because I'm guessing you're like, I'm not going back to France. I want to stay here. So how does it happen that you wind up in Cancun in 87?
Yeah, so the number of scuba diving village are pretty limited. So I don't remember where. They didn't ask me. They just told me you're going to Cancun.
Oh, poor you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
okay.
I mean, I'm like, sure. Remember, I mean, this is the first time. It's not that I'm traveling outside of the country. I've been to countries outside of France, but around France, like Italy, Switzerland, Spain, but never taking an airplane. So Cancun, sure, I'm going.
And you're there with Bob Fagan as chef de village, right?
That's right. So went back to France, for a little time off, flew to Cancun. We were actually, the airplane was broken. So I remember that we stayed almost like 3 to 4 or 5 days in Paris before they sent another airplane.
Oh, really?
Exactly. Yeah, it was funny because we were probably 30 GOs, and we were supposed, now if I recall correctly, we were waiting for, the airline was Aero Mexico, and the plane was broken somewhere in Mexico. So we waited for a replacement plane 1 day, 2 days. The third day, we ended up flying through Dallas on American Airlines. And finally, we arrived in Mexico.
Wow. So big change for you from Martinique? Because, I mean, they're both singles villages, but what were your impressions of Cancun when you got there?
A little bit more remote. Martinique, so the first season, you feel you're still in France, and you speak French, I mean, outside of the village. So there you're in Mexico, you're a little bit farther. So that was my first impression. More international, a lot of Americans were coming to scuba dive. And I also remember the scuba diving was not that great either. I don't know if you have ever been to Cancun for scuba diving.
Yeah.
So we were lucky because we were doing the Cozumel excursion. So we used to go to Cozumel, and that was fantastic. But the scuba diving in Cancun proper was not great.
Cozumel in 87, like people were just discovering Cancun in the mid to late 80s. So you got there at a good time before the reefs were whatever, hurricane wrecked and whatever,
Absolutely. Yeah, Club Med in Cancun, obviously I was in 86, but was there in 1974. But even in the early 80s or mid 80s, not too many hotels yet in Cancun. It just was starting.
That's right.
So it was a lot of construction. So it was pretty interesting.
Now I have an odd note here on my fact sheet. So were you getting sick at Cancun or seasick? Okay.
Yes, both. So it's very funny. So if you scuba dive in Cancun, you have to go beyond the reef. So the ocean was quite rough every day, and every single day I was going on the scuba diving boat and I was sick. So I made sure that I was not the dive master, and I was making sure that I was in the first group, jumping in the water because I could not. I mean, it was horrible, and I remember throwing up in the water. I remember the fish coming everywhere. Greg,
it's
it's what's insane, and I was trying. Friends.
I'm sorry, but this is the part they don't tell you, listeners. If you don't scuba dive when you when you throw up, you don't have to worry about it getting taken care of because fish are surrounding you, right?
That's correct. Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. They come right away. So
Okay, sorry. Okay.
free food.
Right, sorry. Okay, sorry,
So
go on.
oh no, that's okay. So I was coming back in the village. It took me a couple of hours to recover every time. I said something is not right. And I started realizing that every morning for breakfast, and remember, you should never do that. That was stupid. But this is what I did as I was having a milkshake every day for breakfast, chocolate milkshake. And of course, it was not sitting well in my stomach. I was going to dive. And the day I stopped the milkshake, guess what? I was no longer sick. So no milkshake before diving, basically.
Okay.
Remember that. For me, anyway.
I've never heard that, but okay. Noted.
So,
And it's possible that you went scuba diving with one of my favorite people, Anthony Daniels.
That's right.
Played C-3PO in
right.
Star Wars. So if you were there in '87, this would have been maybe 4 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that's right.
So was this your first celebrity like scuba lesson, I guess?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because his name did not mean much. So you know that because you're a scuba diving instructor, but people go diving and we sign the scuba diving books. I'm very social. I talk to, when I was a GO, I talk to the GMs all the time. I love that aspect. And so after the dive, I'm talking to him, not knowing who he is. And I asked him, I said, hey, what do you do for a living? He said, I'm an actor, mostly working on Broadway shows type. And I said, have you done any movies? He said, oh, yes, a few. And at that point, I said, well, can you give me a movie? And he said, Star Wars. And at that point, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's pulling my leg. I said, Star Wars, what role did you have? At that point, he said, C-3PO. Of course, I'm signing his book. So its book clearly says Anthony Daniels. So I kind of take it with reservation, go back to the village. At the time, it was VHS, remember, the 80s. There is no DVDs or nothing like this. So I put the VHS tape of Star Wars and look at the credits. And it was Anthony Daniels.
And it was obviously cool. It was an Englishman. This wasn't like a German GM, right? He was English, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct. Nice. That's correct. Yes. And at the time, he was working with Disneyland and Disney World. They were selling all the rides and everything. So
yeah. All right. And did you do like a full 6 months at Cancun?
I did. We were staying in the Casitas. I don't know if you have heard of that in Cancun. Yep. Some lucky GOs, I'm not sure it was very lucky, but we have a separate building at the end of the village where I don't think there was keys on the doors. No warm water, only cold showers, but we stayed there and I shared a room with a scuba diving instructor with me. And we had, it was so much fun. I was starting to enjoy Club Med more than my first season for sure.
Well, I think at the time you were there in '87, singles villages only had cold showers. I'm kidding. But Casitas. So the Casitas were right kind of by the entrance of the village, correct?
Absolutely correct. Yes. Yeah. And I remember a funny story about the Casitas, and I don't remember his name, but the water ski, the guy in charge of water ski, his bedroom was next to our bedroom. He was alone in his room. We were two, Frederick, my friend. Every day we were going to his bedroom. Obviously, he didn't know. And we were moving a piece of furniture. We were moving its clock forward or backwards. We were moving clothes around, but very little enough to that yet. He was suspicious, but he was not sure. And we did that for months. And I think he knew. I'm not sure. And I remember we were laughing so hard. It's kind of a little joke, but a lot of fun anyway.
Okay, great. And then I see you find your way back to Martinique, where it started, Château Christian Fallat. And now this is the first time in the podcast where we're talking about our dear friend, Hansel Moss. So you're the first guest I talked to about Hansel. He sadly passed away not long ago. And he was your chief of sports here, correct?
That's correct, yes. And this is, I think that particular season, that's the season I became a real GO. And credit to Hansel and credit to Christian Fallat, the chief of village. His nickname was Macumba. But it just was just a lot of fun. Jean-Paul was in charge of scuba, and just the way the village was ran and how we were acting and making jokes all day and having fun was great. So yes, definitely that's my first season with Hansel. Obviously, I'm going to a few villages with him later on. So
the two people I worked longest with the most was Hansel Moss and Jean-Paul, because Jean-Paul and Hansel were at Columbus like the 2.5 years I was there.
Yeah.
So for you to fall into a village with your chief of sports is Hansel and Jean-Paul Morales is your chief of scuba. Was he quite the practical joker, Jean-Paul, back then? Or was he just finding his way? He was shy.
Oh no, he was a joker. So many things. It's very funny because we'll talk about this later on. But went back to Columbus in 2023 because for my anniversary, 30-year anniversary with my wife, and Jean-Paul was there, of course. We scuba dive together, and he has not changed.
Yeah, great.
He's the same. Same thing, and so that's not really changed very much. So yeah, it was so much fun. So, and Jean-Paul was definitely very funny. So
okay, here I believe you also meet Patrick Bruel, no, the famous singer, correct?
That's correct. So Christian Fella, I'm pretty sure he's still an actor, but he was an actor, not like main roles, but a lot of roles in different movies. So Patrick Bruel came over in the village, which was he was very low key. He came backstage. We were doing a show. He said, "Hey, good luck, guys." It was so incredible. So yes, and Christian used to leave the village to go make movies, and Saul was taking over the chief of village during the time. We had also a guy in charge of entertainment. I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Vince. He was from England, and I remember he had a pig, a pet pig, that he was in the village with him. It was, again, a lot of fun. Martinique was very famous for the picnic as well, as you can imagine. So.
Yeah. Yes, I've heard this. Yes. Well, this is crazy because I think I've heard this about Christian before, that he was an actor and he would actually, I don't think any other chief of village left a village to go be in movies, correct?
I've never faced that. He left often. It's funny because he was very involved in the village, but not that much. He trusted his team completely. But what I remember from him is he had an introduction music before the shows. And I remember him sliding on stage. He had a big hat and he was yelling, "Macumba!" And he was starting his shows like this. And it just, again, when you are new to all of this, it just opened your eyes. It was, and the scuba diving team was amazing. We had a British guy, Canadian guys. We had many people. We were having a lot of fun, for sure.
And this time, do you do a full season at Martinique?
I do, actually, even a little bit longer, just because of the timing when I arrived. But yes, and there I became a true geo. The funny part, going back on the picnic side, Greg, is I've never been to a picnic in Martinique, which is very funny because the only people that stayed in the village were the scuba diving instructors, because we were diving and the divers were diving on that day. So, but people were arriving in the village and the first thing they were asking is, where do we sign up for the picnic?
Yeah, that's that story I always loved. They didn't want to see their room. They didn't care if their luggage got lost. They're like, where do I sign up for the picnic?
Absolutely. It was crazy. So a lot of people came because of Macumba. I remember Benjamin Trigano, which was the son of Serge, that came there. A lot of people were coming, a lot of visitors, a lot of actors that I didn't know. So quite a variety. Oh, also the group Cassav. Have you ever heard of that group?
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
It's from Martinique, very famous.
Oh, that's right. Yes. You're right. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and they came in Martinique. They were playing in the restaurant, and they had a concert, and it's so obviously Christian Fella had a lot of connection in the movie and music world. So a lot of people came.
And when you were there these beautiful like French models modeling bathing suits along the beach, and then like a GM would say, "I want that one," and then she would change out of the bikini there. Did they have this when you were there?
It wasn't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Not when I was there. Maybe before and after, but not when I was there. Not that I remember anyway.
After when I was there. Okay, you missed out, Benoit. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you have such a good team in Martinique that practically the same main people go to Moorea, like in '88. You have Christian, Hansel, and Jean-Paul, right? In Moorea in '88?
That's correct. So little break for me at that point. I go back home for a couple of months, not necessarily planning to go to Moorea, But I called Club Med right away and they said, hey, we can send you to Morea. So I joined the team a couple months later back in Morea with, you're right, with Ansel, Christian, and Jean-Paul. Same thing, a lot of fun. Great scuba diving. I love sharks, and it was so much fun.
Now, did you like the pace of Maria? Because I notice, I've heard, so it's a lot slower than what you're accustomed to with Martinique and Cancun, right? Is it a bit like honeymooners or something?
Absolutely. And a lot more people from Europe than, I mean, Americans were coming as well, obviously, but not as much. So it was more a destination for French people. But yeah, the pace is slower, but still, with Ansel was such a people person, and he didn't really speak French very well, but he was finding his way. So, but yeah, no, not the same pace, but still Club Med for sure.
I see shark feeding. Now, was this an excursion offered, or were you like the geo in charge of feeding the shark?
No, we were on. It sounds maybe more impressive than what it is. So, but what we used to do, Greg, is we were getting fish from the kitchen every day. We were taking the GMs on the bottom of of the ocean there, and they were waiting kind of like on a circle. And we had two scuba diving instructors. One, so the fish was attached with a rope, and another one with a stick, because typically the small fish are coming all around that fish, and sometimes the sharks gets too close, so you have to push them back. We were pulling the fish down to the bottom, attaching it to a rock or whatever, and after that the sharks were coming over and just eating that the dead fish there. But the sharks knew. This is amazing. Like the boat was leaving the village, and you could see the sharks following the boat. They knew that we were bringing food over. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very
Okay.
much so.
Okay, so you weren't feeding them like hand to mouth or anything.
We didn't. No, we
okay.
didn't.
Okay. Okay.
Mostly black tips, but we had also some tiger sharks and so on. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And I assume that in terms of visibility, Morea was probably the best so far.
It was really much beautiful. Yes, I would say from my first few seasons, Cozumel was the best. Cozumel at the time was just the start of Cozumel. Nobody knew about Cozumel, so the reef was intact.
Yep.
And it was drift diving, if I remember. So basically, you don't have to use your fins. You just go with the current, and the boat follows you. It was just beautiful scuba diving. Over time, it probably became not as good, but was awesome.
And how long was your season at Morea?
So I'm going to say about 4 months, probably.
And this will end with, I guess, your summer. Was it summer season in Santa Teresa you do next?
That's right. So I have an interesting story if you want to hear it.
Yes, please.
Morea and Santa Teresa. So at that point, I don't remember where Ansel and Christian were going, but Jean-Paul is going to the Maldives, and which is a dream. If you're a scuba diver, you are like, oh my gosh, that's where you want to go scuba dive. But I received a phone call from Banan. So I work with Banan in Cancun, and he said, hey, I would like you to come to Santa Teresa, and I would like you to be my right hand. If you come over after the season, you will be in charge of scuba diving. So I have to make that choice there. It's interesting how in life you have to make a choice. Most people would have gone to the Maldives, but I decided to go to Santa Teresa. First of all, I was excited to go work with Banan again, because so much history with Banan. But at the same time, that was an opportunity. I was becoming more interested to grow in Club Med. So I decided, hey, if one day I'm in charge of scuba diving, I can always go back to the Maldives, but that opportunity. And it's interesting because that decision actually set the stage for the rest of all the other seasons. So yes, Santa Teresa is the next season after that.
Santa Teresa is in Italy?
It's in Sardinia. It is Italy, but Sardinia. So It's on an island.
Was the village closed when you got there and you were opening it?
Absolutely. So you have to do an opening of a village if, for people that have never done it. It's so the village is closed during, for 8 months, maybe, 7 months, and they open for 5 months. So you pretty much have 3 to 4 weeks where you set the schedule, set the village ready for the first GMs. Santa Teresa was interesting. They didn't have a pier for the scuba diving boat. So we had to build a floating pier, which took us like 2 weeks. It was an absolute nightmare. And you have to restart the compressors for the tanks. You have to do all of this. So you have to set up everything. You have to start the shows. They didn't have an amphitheater, so we had a circus tent where we were doing the shows. So eyes wide open. Abdelzouari was the chief of village, and the chief of sport was, I think his name was Claude Goati, I think, if I remember well. But Banam, again, was the chief of scuba.
Okay, I'm just confused about this dock, scuba dock. So in the 8 months it was closed, did something happen to the scuba dock, or there never was a scuba dock?
There is not. So there is no scuba dock. So basically, every season you have to rebuild one.
No, really?
Yeah, and it's wait, it's even better than that, Greg. So every storm, of course, the scuba dock breaks down. Not everywhere, but big pieces. So you arrive in the morning and you have pieces on the beach, and you have to collect them and bring them back. So it was quite a bit of work.
I never heard this. So the water, the storms get so rough that it breaks the dock?
That's correct. Yes.
And every geo team or scuba team that opens Santa Teresa has to build the scuba dock.
You're absolutely right. And every 2 weeks, every time you have a storm, you have to put it back together.
Okay, I never heard that. Now I'm seeing why the one at Columbus Isle is built the way it's built. It's built way over the water. It's collapsible. The planks give when the waves. Okay, so it's a total opposite in Santa Teresa of Columbus. Okay, wow. Okay, so I guess after a 4-month season there, you're pretty tired, I'm guessing, right?
I am, but there is one thing happens during that season in Santa Teresa, which again will set the stage for the rest of my career at Club Med, but also my life, really, because along the way, I ended up meeting my wife. But Yannick Daudet, was the chief of village that would open Club Med 1. And I'm in Santa Teresa there. I'm assisting Banan, and I end up meeting Yannick. And Yannick.
Okay, excuse me, Benoit, but what was this before Yannick was a chef de village, or was he just visiting the village?
He was just visiting the village. So Yannick was very famous because he was doing all of the openings at one point in Club Med. So he had done the Rio das Pedras opening. He has done Sandpiper. So he's done quite a few, and he was tasked to open the first ship for Club Med. So he's visiting Santa Teresa.
Okay.
And I think the reason is because the ship will end up probably going there or around there. So he's kind of visiting the village. And I end up meeting Yannick there.
And I guess he stored your name for future. He remembered you, and then later on.
No, not exactly like this. Kind of interesting. He connects with me, and he said, So this is toward the end of Santa Teresa. He said, we don't have scuba diving on Club Med 1, and we are not planning to put scuba diving on Club Med 1, but I would like you to join us, and I would like you to work for the excursions. And every day we will have people that go diving with the local shop, and you will be going with them. And at the same time, I get an offer to be in charge of scuba diving in Cancun as well. So I have, and I decided to go that route, to go Club Med 1. So I meet with him in Paris, and that's before Turk and Caicos. You're going to see the behind the story. But so I meet with him in Paris, and I said, Yannick, why don't we should put scuba diving on the ship? You have the back door opens. We could have scuba diving boats there. And he said, okay. So you're in charge.
Just like that.
Okay. Yeah, just like that. So we bought 2 compressors. We bought scuba diving tanks. We ended up changing we had big Zodiacs on the ship. We ended up changing the boat slightly to accommodate scuba diving. And that's the way it's all started. So now we're in September, right? And the ship is still being built in Le Havre, France. So I'm open between September, and I was supposed to join the ship in December. So at that point, I received a phone call, and they asked me, they said, hey, before you go to the ship, do you want to go to Turk and Caicos? We need somebody in charge there.
Yes. And so you go to Turks in 88.
Yes.
Jose Aliel is the chief of the village, and Hansel Maas is here.
That's right.
And this is your first time in Turks and Caicos, so you have not yet met Jojo, the wild dolphin, right?
That's correct. Yes. This is all new to me. And the scuba diving school that I was involved into, Santa Teresa and Martinique and Cancun and Moria, were good size scuba diving school, but pretty small. Turk and Caicos is a huge scuba diving school at the time. There's a lot of divers. I will say 1/3 of the people that are going there are scuba divers. So big school. So definitely surprised.
I do love some JoJo stories. So give me your best JoJo story, please.
So I'm not going to give you my best, but I'm going to give you my second best.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, JoJo was a little raunchy back in the late 80s. So yeah, we'll skip that one. Okay.
There is so many, but one of them was we used to do, I'm sure it's still the same there, but we used to do the scuba diving school next to the dock there. And one day, JoJo decided to bring a shark to the scuba diving school. And he decided that he will kill the shark on the front of all the divers. So he kind of put the small shark by the ladder, and he was kind of going full speed on the shark until the shark basically, I believe, was dead or definitely unconscious. And so at that point, he took the shark back and took it to the ocean, and it was it.
Yeah.
So it was quite a promotion for the divers, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something they'll never forget.
Yeah. Second little story you will appreciate also is we used to do night dives there as well. And one thing I love to do in night dives was having all the guests turning off their lights for a few minutes. And so I have all my guests with me. I do the sign, turn off your lights. And at that point, I feel something poking me in my back. So I turn around, and guess who is there? JoJo.
Well, I'm hoping it was JoJo, because if you ever dive at night for the first time in the ocean and have your instructor turn off the lights, it's pretty scary. And then all of a sudden, you feel a boom, boom, boom.
Okay. Oh my gosh, yes. So
now, were you asking them to turn off the lights to agitate the plankton? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And one of my divers, and you're probably going to appreciate that, one of my divers that works for me there was Dean Bernard.
Yes.
Of course, you know him. So that's when he met JoJo, and I don't know if my story is correct, but I think he never left, basically.
Well, he was there, in '94. Yeah, Dean. I met Dean when I met JoJo, basically. Yeah, Dean was there, and he answered all my questions about him. Yeah. Now, is it true that you helped discover the famous the Abyss dive site there?
Yes, so and that will go well with Club Med. Well, I love to try new things in general, and the dive in Turk and Caicos were beautiful, obviously, but we were kind of repeating. So it was at the time of the movie, when the movie came out, The Abyss. So one time we were kind of on the way to a scuba dive, and I said, guys, let's go there, and we're going to call this dive The Abyss. So we anchored the boat, went in, it was beautiful, and the name stayed, and that was it, became The Abyss.
Now, did you also go to West Caicos too for a dive excursion?
I don't think so. When I was there was in the fall, and the ocean was not often very good. So we were challenged by the weather every so often. So I don't remember going very far.
Okay. And how long were you at Turks in '88?
So again, I have so many stories you're going to laugh. So I'm going to guess from September to November, maybe early December. So two things happened there. At that point, I met an instructor from West Point. That was a scuba diving instructor for the military academy. And he...
Excuse me, Benoit. Are you saying, I know of West Point, are you saying they had a scuba instructor at West Point?
They have sport instructors, and they teach scuba diving for the cadets that want to do scuba diving.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So he tells me, he said, if you're interested, come visit me for 1 week, and we're gonna. So I have a French certification. I don't have an American certification. Come over for 1 week. We're gonna certify you. Now so fly into New York. It's probably November. I have long curly hair, which I don't have anymore, blonde, and go to West Point. So we were staying outside, but every day I was going to train with the cadets.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, this is fascinating. Okay, I've never heard of anyone being invited to West Point before. This is amazing.
No civilians, and definitely no French guy at the time. So really, we have long hair. So every day I was training with them. So my NAUI certification is a West Point certification, signed in West Point. I was not eating with the cadets, with the exception of one day. He said, you have to experience this. So I went to eat with the cadets there, which was incredible. So a few cadets that were training with me took me with them, and I went there. But it was quite an experience. And I'm very proud to have that certificate for sure.
And let me guess, were they very jealous of your long hair? Because I see when they go in, they have to shave their head, right? So
Absolutely.
okay.
What I remember, Greg, is funny is the speed they were eating in the mess there. It's very well organized, and they bring the food, and the meal was done in 10 minutes, right? I'm from France, so I need a little more time than that.
Well, this is interesting, and this is not to make fun of you, Benoit, but guests, I always ask for fun facts from
Yeah,
guests, and they always leave out a very interesting. So you did not put West Point on your fun fact sheet, so this is
I
amazing.
I did. Well, you're gonna like the second if you
Oh,
are okay for
please,
second one.
yeah, please, let's hear it.
Oh, so you're gonna love that one too. So at that point, I'm done with this, and Yannick calls me, and he said, "Listen, I would like you to go to Sandpiper. I have a friend of mine that has a sailboat. He's gonna come collect you in Sandpiper, and you guys gonna go sailing the Caribbean, and I want you to go explore the scuba diving spot for Club Med One."
What?
Yes, just like that.
Oh, come on. And you're getting paid for this too?
Oh,
Yikes. Okay.
I'm getting paid. So
Okay.
I remember it's the time, I don't even remember how we were getting the airplane tickets or whatever, but flew to Sandpiper, and I'm waiting, going to Disney World every other day, water skiing every day, doing a bunch of things and having fun. After 3 or 4 weeks, I'm like, something is kind of weird. He's not calling me. That guy is not connecting with me. So I called Yannick back. And remember, at the time, no cellular phone, right? You have kind of landline. And he said, no, it did not work out. You can come back now.
Oh.
So I basically spent 4 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks in Sandpiper doing nothing, just having fun, which was great, by the way. But I did some interesting things scuba diving wise on Club Med One, but basically I stayed 4 weeks in Sandpiper before joining the Club Med One.
Yeah, and you got to see Mickey Mouse, right? What's not to like?
Many times. Yeah, I had two dreams, and I got my two things done. When I was young, I really wanted to go to Tahiti. So obviously I'd done that with Maria. But the second one was to go to Disney World, and then I did it plenty. So that was great.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So as I imagined, we went about 46 minutes into this, and we have a lot more to cover. So we are going to have Benoit back very, very, very soon. So we're going to pick up to 1989 and Club Med One. He was one of the first people on the ships, and he was scuba manager. Are you okay with this, Benoit?
Of course, absolutely. Thank you, Greg.
Okay. And he not only did Club Med One, he also worked in Monastir in Tunisia and Agadir, Sandpiper, where he met a future someone, and then,
Yes.
other villages. So we are going to have him back for part 2 very, very soon. And of course, he has also agreed to do them in French for our Swiss and French cousins. So thank you for this interview, Benoit, but we'll be seeing each other very, very soon.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Say bye, Benoit.
Bye.